these are serious issues that are impacting on people, particularly from the electorate that I'm proud to represent in this place, from Western Sydney and the seat of Chifley. Now, my EFO, I mentioned before, continues a tradition that has been set by this government. The tradition has been cut, cut, cut. The first my EFO that Chifley residents had to confront was the one for 2013-14, delivered in December 2013, and it had a particularly nasty cut in it. Back then, we had, earlier in the year, finally secured the green light for funding for an important healthcare project. Healthcare, for me, is one of the key priorities for the Chifley electorate. People in our electorate should be able to anticipate access to healthcare services as good as any in the Sydney area. And they have had to contend with a lot where investment has not kept pace with growth in our area, and a number of people rightly expect better. And so it has been one of the areas that, since I've had the honour of being elected to this place, I have pursued. In particular, trying to find sources of investment support to be able to secure new equipment for Mount Druitt Hospital in particular. At Mount Druitt Hospital, I had fought for some time for us to be able to get an MRI in that hospital. We had, after a long campaign, thousands of signatures that we had secured. We had eventually got the funding for that, and in that first MyEFO that the Abbott government brought down in December 2013, they callously cut away the funding that would have provided that vital equipment for our area. It was a shameful act by a new government that had said they would not be making cuts to healthcare, and their first signature economic decision in that MyEFO statement was to do that. They were also joined in this zeal for cutting by the Baird government. The Baird government, the New South Wales Liberal government, through their funding cuts, had seen the closure in an area that is affected by heart disease. They had seen the closure of a cardiac ward at Mount Druitt Hospital, which is, again, shameless to see in an area of high need that they could cut those vital services to people. And so people had seen basically a downgrade of healthcare services in our area from a federal government and a state Liberal government working in tandem to cut the support required. Now, remarkably, out of the blue, the Baird government, going into an election last year, announced that, lo and behold, after cutting funding, after cutting services to Mount Druitt Hospital, that they would put in place an MRI. Bear in mind, they had to contend with the $80 billion of cuts to schools and hospitals that were triggered by the 2014 Abbott budget. But in that climate, they said that they would fund an MRI for Mount Druitt Hospital. And putting aside the politics, I was happy to see that occur because they had a dismal record in terms of healthcare funding, the Baird government. But if they were going to put that equipment in, so be it. We'll never turn away that type of support. However, while they were quick to make that commitment to fund the MRI, they've been slow to actually honour it. And what we've seen is them dragging their feet in honouring the commitment. My friend and colleague at the state level, the member for Mount Druitt, Mr Edmund Atala, has asked on a number of occasions to see or to get answers as to when we can expect to see the MRI at Mount Druitt. And there he had asked in May, can the minister provide, this is the New South Wales minister, can they provide a timetable for following upgrades at Mount Druitt, including the new MRI machine? The minister answers, the project planning for Blacktown Mount Druitt Hospital Stage 2 is currently underway. That was it. No indication. A few months later, in August, asked again, when will the Mount Druitt Hospital receive an MRI machine as announced by the government during the pre-election campaign? Answer, I'm advised that the government's announced a $400 million commitment towards Stage 2 of the Blacktown Mount Druitt Hospital expansion. This follows $312 million Stage 1 redevelopment. Stage 2 includes a new MRI machine for Mount Druitt Hospital. No answer as to when. None. They make the promise in the lead-up to the election, but don't follow through whatsoever. And this is, quite frankly, an outrageous delay that is being foisted on the people of Mount Druitt, and they should not tolerate it. As I said, they've already had to contend with a massive cut to future healthcare spending by the Abbott government, maintained by the Turnbull government, seeing cuts through my EFO, and we've seen further cuts in the last one. We've now seen the state government, in a grab for votes, make a commitment and not follow through nearly a year since that commitment, or over a year actually, since that commitment was made. And the people of Mount Druitt should not be forced to wait. Labor in government made big investments in Mount Druitt Hospital. In fact, I'm pleased to see the Shadow Minister at the table. He has visited when he was a Parliamentary Secretary at Mount Druitt Hospital and announced investment in palliative care at the Mount Druitt Hospital, which we were very grateful for, and the assignment of extra funding for modern CAT scanners and also extra subacute beds at the hospital, which people were very grateful for. We'd had a track record, Labor in government, of investing in healthcare in our area, and all we have seen from at the federal and state jurisdictions is nothing but cuts, and this agenda is continually maintained by the type of documents, as I said, that are the cornerstone of this appropriation bill today. And so I'm certainly calling on the Baird government to finally stump up. Stop trying to get the cheap headlines, deliver for the people that you said you would, and put that MRI machine in Mount Druitt Hospital. The people of our area, as I said, deserve to be able to have access to healthcare as good as any within the Sydney metropolitan region, and they have been denied that. And we certainly need to stand up to fight for that, not only at the state level, but as I said, at the federal one as well, where we will and are committed to taking on this government, the government that might be in a different form, in a different guise, but is still maintaining the same type of philosophy that the Abbott government had started with, which is to break an election promise, not to touch healthcare, to fail to deliver, and we are not certainly going to sit idly by and see continued cuts affecting the people, particularly of Western Sydney.